Today on One.
The thick woods looked as they had hundreds of years ago.
Bringing children's books to life with a Central Florida author.
Car number 18.
Then we'll take a spin around the track with a local race car driver. And later, meet some furry creatures you don't want to pet. We've got all that and more coming up on today's show. This is One. Hi, I'm Amy Liz Cicero, and welcome to One, a show about the people and places that make Central Florida special. This month, we'll be taking a look at some of the best of Central Florida with some encore stories from past shows. We'll start with a look at one local author who brings her young readers to real-life locations where her stories take place. Meet local author Marion Tomlin. She's doing her part to keep Florida history alive and inspire a new generation of readers. We caught up with her as she explored the setting of her book, Fly-In Foxtails, with third graders from Cypress Creek Elementary School in Port Orange.
How did I get the title of the book? The title of the book was given to me by my editor. She said, call it Fly-In Foxtails. Fly-In Foxtails started as a collaboration between myself and our local newspaper. My editor had seen wild fox sunning themselves on the taxiway at the Spruce Creek Fly-In, and she wanted to know how they got there, why they're there, and how are they surviving in this alien environment. Living on the runway where those airplanes go on and off the tarmac. And she said, Mrs. Tomlin, how did the fox get there? How are they surviving there? And what do we do about it? And when you think about how that modern development contrasts to this piece of old Florida, which abuts right up next to it, the line dividing the old with the new, the future with the past, is the Spruce Creek waterway. Oh, I see a whole little school of fish. Look at that.
Oh, yeah.
Isn't that fun? And so that's why the children are coming here today, is to see how important that waterway is to us. The thick woods looked as they had hundreds of years ago when Native Americans would paddle their canoes down this dark and twisty waterway.
We chose the story because it was about where we live.
So here we are at Cracker Creek, in the same place that the book talked about and the main character, so we can actually say to our children, look, you just became Rico. You connected to that book. It's her stories that make my classroom come alive.
Oh, of course, you made your own foxtail books. Oh, these are marvelous books that they made, inspired by the book that they read.
We read your book.
You read my book. Did you like my? You liked my book.
Yeah, it was so cool.
My goal with creating Foxtails was to create a connection between the children and the nature preserve that is right here in their own backyard. We drive past Gamble Place 60 miles an hour. We don't look at it, we don't see it, we don't recognize its value. I want to bring them in, I want to slow them down, I want to introduce them to what they have inherited so that they'll appreciate the importance of claiming it and protecting it.
Sharing her love of Florida is Marion Tomlin's passion, and the students will read about another local area in The Mystery at the Hotel Ormond later this year. With the recent downturn in the economy, some people have tried to create their own income by turning a passion for gardening into a flourishing community farm. We show you a business that is both healthy and profitable.
I started Sundew Gardens shortly after we moved onto our land here in 1983. At first I was selling my produce at the Winter Park Farmers Market, but folks were following me home from the market and wanting to pick directly from my gardens, so eventually it all evolved into a U-pick farm. We're starting to get a bulb forming on the base of this. Well, I took a break from actually growing the garden as a source of income for a number of years. We have 3 kids now, and I had to get a haircut and get a real job. And about 2 years ago, I could see that with the economy doing so poorly, I was going to jump back into my gardening career. Working night shifts at Disney, luckily I had rebuilt the garden, had all the infrastructure in place, and at the same time with the local food movement really picking up speed, it was a very good opportunity to jump back into growing crops. Most of the vegetables we grow are very quick, high turnover produce crops. I grow scallions, carrots, kohlrabi, a lot of greens and salad fixings. Been very turnkey productively to every year just harvest the fruit from them after the initial work was accomplished. A lot of times on TV, when I see somebody who's been laid off for a long time, they're asking someone to give them a job. My creating my own job took me beyond that.
There are many community farms across the Central Florida area emphasizing homegrown organic produce. You can find more at homegrown.locallygrown.net. How many people do you know that volunteer to go to the doctor's office? Well, at the UCF College of Medicine, standardized patients are doing just that. They don't actually have an illness, but can feign all the symptoms in an effort to help train future physicians.
Hi, good afternoon. My name's Erin.
Hi, Doc.
Hi, I'm a medical student at UCF. So I'm coming in today to do a quick history for you. Today you're having some issues with double vision, is that right?
Yeah, I've had double vision for about a week now. What we want to do is we want the students to bring out information about our symptoms, about our conditions.
Okay, so it doesn't come in
No.
certain times?
No. I'm helping somebody to learn something. I'm trying to help these students become the best doctors they can possibly be.
Standardized patient is a person who does not have an illness, but comes and helps us present an illness to a medical student who is learning about them.
I've had headache, I've had abdominal pains, I've had chest pains, I've had back spasms.
They really want to help. They really want to get into that role. And the questions they ask are incredibly insightful. If I had that, how could I drive? What would I do with my foot if I had that kind of an injury? How would I walk? The standardized patients usually ask more questions than I anticipate.
I think it forces me to think about how I'm going to phrase things before I actually go to a patient, and I'm not going to say, oh, I'm going to stick this ophthalmoscope in your eye. I'm going to tell them, well, I'm going to take a look here. There's going to be a bright light, and I just explain it in a little bit more detail and a little bit more in layman's terms. And it makes me cognizant of how I'm actually speaking to somebody and how they might perceive me that way.
One component of it is professionalism skill.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Do they welcome the patient? Do they introduce themselves?
I'm going to feel your thyroid gland.
Gives the student an opportunity to practice in context. A room that looks like an actual physician's room, where the equipment is there and available, and it's the real equipment that fits in their hand exactly right.
My wife and daughter first became involved, and I saw the experience they had the first year, how much they enjoyed it, how much they liked it, how much they felt they learned from it, and I decided since I was retired I'd give it a try.
Many of us haven't actually ever dealt with patients out in the real world, and so now we're here face to face with somebody who's going to be reactive to our questions, and not only our questions but our facial expressions and how we talk and how we phrase the questions, and so it gives us a little bit better realistic feedback that we wouldn't get from, say, a professor or a fellow student.
You may help somebody become a doctor, and that doctor may come up with a very important discovery to prevent a disease or stop a disease or come up with an inoculation of some sort.
For more information on the UCF College of Medicine, including the Clinical Skills and Simulation Center, visit med.ucf.edu. Coming up on One, we'll visit a visual oasis in Winter Park. And later, meet a woman who loves fostering all kinds of animals, but her favorite pets may make you run for cover. First, let's take a look at some nonprofit events and opportunities in our community. For local race car driver Ryan Rust, it's a dream he's been chasing since he was just 8 years old. We caught up with Ryan on his pursuit of life in the fast lane. He's this month's One to Know.
Now, car number 18, the former pro challenge competitor. In the number 18 is going to be Ryan.
I started when I was 8 years old in go-karts at a little dirt track called St. Lucie Speedway.
When he first got started in go-karts, there was not a person or thing that he didn't hit. Since then, he's learned a lot. Gotcha, I just want to double check.
Window nut.
Gotcha.
It really mostly comes through seat time. That's where you can get told what to do, you can get shown what to do, but until you spend time actually in the car, that's when you learn everything through experience.
Definition of seat time is getting to know how the car feels by the seat of your pants. Your butt is in constant communication with your car.
My overall goal is to become a professional NASCAR driver, but I realize that that possibility is very slim, so that's why I'm getting an education for my backup plan.
With Ryan becoming a mechanical engineer at UCF, it's perfect for him because he can work in the industry as a mechanical engineer, no problem. So if he wants to work in NASCAR, he'll be very, very valuable to almost any race team.
You could be the best driver in the world and you won't be in NASCAR. The number one thing you need to be in NASCAR is sponsorship. And right now, that's very hard to find. It's a lot of work to go out getting sponsors. You're constantly networking with people, getting to know other people, and branding yourself as a driver.
But it so happens that Ryan's successful charity might just be rocket fuel for his brand.
Adopt a Hero program is a program where people from all around the world can sign up to adopt someone from our U.S. military overseas. People who sign up have sent out close to 120,000 care packages.
So when Ryan actually put together this Adopt a Hero program, he wasn't thinking of himself, he was thinking of others. We would be lying if we said we don't get some sort of benefit out of it as well, because the hundreds of thousands of people who work with the program know who Ryan is, and ultimately sponsors like that too.
You can follow Ryan's progress by logging onto his website. Just go to ryanrust.com to check out his fan page, schedule, statistics, and results for this Central Florida hometown hero. Here's a local gem in Winter Park. The Pelagic Gardens and Museum showcase some of sculptor Albin Pelagic's work. Its 3-acre outdoor garden dates back to 1949. For this month's Central Florida hometown, we check out the beautiful gardens and artwork at the Pelagic Museum.
Many people in Winter Park take for granted some of the public art we have in our town. The Emily Fountain in Central Park is still probably one of the most used places to take prom pictures. All those pieces were gifts from either Mr. Pelagic himself or from the museum. Albin Pelagic was one of the most recognized and respected sculptors of the 20th century. Like so many, he came to this country in 1901 with not a penny in his pocket. After he retired and came here, he had a major stroke 5 months after moving in, which crippled the left side of his body. He produced 18 major works with his right hand in a wheelchair. The large stone man carving his own destiny. He did that at 83 years of age in a wheelchair where they built the scaffolding up around the stone for him to carve, and he had an assistant that would tap the chisel. We have well over 3 dozen sculptures throughout our gardens, hence the name Sculpture Gardens, because they were created to be part of nature. He thought that it was very important to bring out the beauty in everything, whether it be a little bird that he sculpted up to a 2.5-story portrait sculpture. Everything had to center back to that soul that is in every living thing.
For information on location, hours, and events at the museum, log on to their website at pelagic.org. Coming up, we'll take you to a galaxy far, far away to show you some out-of-this-world costumes. But first, let's check out some upcoming events from around the area. If you have a story idea, let us know by emailing us at one@ucf.edu. Puppies, kitties, and bunnies. There are so many soft and sweet pets to adopt out there, but one animal fan has made loving what most people would consider the most unlovable animals her passion. She shows us the softer side of her cute and cuddly tarantulas.
We have 4 dogs, 6 cats. I have 4 rescue rats. Rats are very, very good pets. They like human companionship. And then I have the 10 kittens that I'm fostering. I get to spend the fun time with them when they're little and they're learning to walk and they're learning to explore, and I get the best parts of them. And then my 6 tarantulas. Tarantulas for a pet, for me, is just really fascinating. They live totally isolated by themselves. They have everything they need to survive. It comes from within them, as far as homes, building homes, from the webbing to capturing their prey, the different species and colors. They're just fascinating to me. At Seminole County Animal Services, when they get tarantulas in, I'll take them. They don't want them in the shelter. They don't like them. I take my spiders into the classrooms. Teachers will ask me to come in, and I teach children about the importance of spiders, how they do provide a positive thing. They're not just creepy crawly. One of the things that most people don't know when I start talking about my spiders is that they molt. They shed their skins when they grow. And it's very interesting to watch. They lay a web on the bottom of the tank and they kind of lay on their backs and kick the molt off like they're taking off a tight pair of jeans. As far as my friends, they're all people that are at the shelter, so they're pretty much no different than me except for the tarantulas. We all have households kind of like this. But as far as the spiders, they don't like them. They better you than me, Christine. If my neighbors knew all the things that I have in the house, they'd probably want me to move out.
Christine has kept everything from ferrets and mice to reptiles, and of course, the run-of-the-mill cats and dogs. Die-hard fans and over-the-top costumes were all the rage at the recent annual Star Wars celebration that was in town. Fans inspired by the books and movies turned their obsession into some wild, outrageous, and expensive outfits. Let's take a look.
I'm Obi-Wan.
My character is Ula.
Yes, I am a Jedi, like my father before me.
Master Jedi, Luminara, and Dooley.
I came here a couple of years ago, and I've always been a big Star Wars fan, and I met all these people that make costumes and are all into this, and I really got the itch. It is machine metal. It's all aluminum. It has been custom painted.
This is not a cheap hobby.
My costume is $3,000.
My costume is $9,000.
And my costume's about $7,000.
We spend a lot of money to make sure that our costumes look like the movie that we've chosen.
Such aggression in one so young.
This is the costume that I have been wanting to make since I figured out I could make costumes. There's a lot of sewing involved. There's no patterns that exist for this, so we have forum boards that a lot of people who have done the costume before or did a lot of research posted their information to help other people to make the costume as well.
I was actually 8 years old when Return of the Jedi came out in New Zealand cinemas. This costume is Darth Talon from the Legacy comics. At that stage I don't think there'd been much in the way of female alien Sith. It took me about 6.5 hours to get this costume on.
He proposed to me at Star Wars Celebration 3 outside in front of the convention center in Indianapolis in costume. We had a Star Wars wedding.
We're both Star Wars fans and we met because of our shared passion.
I love the time with my friends. I love meeting new people. I love costuming. Costuming is kind of a passion of ours.
Star Wars is a universal language.
May the Force be with you.
Star Wars Celebration has been in Orlando the last 2 years. No word yet on Celebration 7. You can be on the lookout for that announcement at StarWarsCelebration.com. Thanks for joining us for this edition of One. I'm Amy Lo-Cicero. We'll leave you with a look at a recent chocolate festival that was in town to show off all that is sweet, creative, and even high fashion. It was much ado about chocolate, and we were there to sample some of the treats. See you next time.
Chocolate is a decadent, sophisticated dessert.
Here at the Festival of Chocolate, we have vendors from all over Orlando who come and show their pieces of brownies and ice cream and popsicles and cakes and almost every form of chocolate that you can think of, it's here.
I love pretty much everything about chocolate. It's the perfect comfort food. You can have it literally any time of the day. It's perfect.
The theme is fashion, and of course I knew I would see a lot of dresses and a lot of hats and some slippers and things like that, some shoes. But I thought, well, how do you make that? You make that with scissors and buttons and thread. So I figured, let me make the components that make those items. So that's another creative way of showing fashion.
This is the second Coca Couture fashion show that we had. The first one was in Tampa. For this show, we had 16 up-and-coming designers that came from the International Art and Design Technology School that's located here in Orlando. The students were required to use 50% or more wrappers. We did have a requirement to use chocolate, but in Tampa we realized that it melted once it hit the body, which I find it makes it look more of a wearable outfit now, which is a great thing. We chose to have a Coca Couture fashion show because you can taste chocolate, but it's nice to be able to see it used in a different way as a garment. This dress that was nominated by the fans took about 200 wrappers. The designer was Veronica, and it flowed. It looked beautiful on the runway.
We're doing brownie pops this year. These are actually made just like normal brownies. They're a fudgy brownie, and then we use little ice cream scoops and mold them into little balls, and then we put the stick in there, and then we just use the toppings just to give it some of them different flavors.
Chocolate is probably one of the more difficult things to work with, like over buttercream, but it's really the most fun. And you could do so many different things with fudge. You could swirl it. We have this really cool rose design we can make out of fudge. You can put anything, and it's thick and it's rich and it's amazing, and it just looks romantic and beautiful. It's just awesome.